Okay, today we have another one of the great Alps TV robots, or as they actually were called, Television Spaceman. This is version 3. I've done many videos, as you all know, or you should know, on the Alps TV robot. There were 3 main variations. This was the last in the line, and the only reason I'm doing another video today, since I've really talked about all this before, is this one required some repairs that hadn't been done on the earlier ones, and I thought I'd just share them with you so you could be hip to that kind of thing. First thing was these were the legs and feet that were on it when it was sent to me, and the main problem with them was all of the corrosion on the base plates here, and the fact that the base plates were warped and bent and severely damaged. It had been very hard to, well, it would have taken so many hours to salvage these that I don't believe the toy would have been worth the cost I'd have to charge for the repair. So thankfully I do have a box full of parts, and I was able to come up with 2 nice legs that didn't have all these problems. But if a person was going to salvage these, if they actually had to have them, since the tabs that hold the plastic shoe facades on are broken off, one, you'd have to get in there and clean up all that rust, get down to bare metal, solder some new tabs on the inside that come out, bend them up, make sure they're cut right to the right length, repaint everything black, reassemble all the wheels and legs and all that kind of stuff. You know, on this toy, the top of the feet, the legs that you see here, these are all superficial. They're only cosmetic. They're non-load bearing. All of the weight is actually being carried by this piece of metal, which goes all the way down to the foot, and this piece of metal, which goes all the way down to the foot. And then when it reaches the foot, it crimps into a piece that runs here and here that the 2 wheels pin into. And so everything is load bearing just on these metal rods, or basically these 2 axles, if you will. In order to get it out of the toy, you can see they take and they crimp the ends of the axles. So you have to grind those crimps off so that once you've got the toy completely apart, you can then pull the axle pieces out to pull the legs out. Now these white things, these were used on all of the TV robots. These are spacers. The actual gearbox, I'm trying to move these so you can get a better visualization. The actual gearbox fits right in here. So these space the legs out so that they're held in the proper location. Now in this version 3, you can see the legs are plastic, and so are the tops of the feet. The tops of the feet are a hard plastic. These parts of the legs are more like a water bottle, or we used to call a milk bottle, flexible, very thin. On the very first version of the robot, it was all metal. The only thing plastic on the entire toy would have been the claws and the head dome piece. But the toy originally came out, I think in 1961, if I remember right. And then this version was introduced in 1966. So you figure if they made it for a year or two, this toy had a long run, probably about a 10-year life, and that's why there's so many of them around. But that's good, because it's an incredible toy. It's a fantastic toy. So I had to completely take it apart to get in there and replace the legs and the feet, because there was really, as I said, no smart way to repair these price-wise. Also, I should jump back while we're talking about the versions. This one has the largest screen opening for seeing the moving pictures, and of course the largest claws. It had the standard, what you're going to see in almost all of these when you go looking for them. Battery box damage. This is plastic, and in this case that's good. And the original ones, they were metal. If this had been metal, then the acid from the leaking problem, which had happened sometime during the toy's life, would have eaten up the back. But you can see it's discolored, but not in bad shape. It's more than 90% still original paint in there, so there would be no reason to have spray painted the whole thing white and lose the battery placement information. Of course, I had to grind down all these contacts and get them cleaned up. In the case of the top ones, put some solder in there, then grind that back down and get a nice contact surface for all these to mate into. All of the TV robots have a tolerance issue between this little crimped out area here and here and here and here. In other words, between the body and the battery tabs. It's very easy in a toy that's been abused or played with, for these to short out to the body frame. Now, if the bottom one's short out to the body frame, the toy is going to turn on and run at half speed with just one battery running and the other battery is effectively shorted out. It's possible, depending on which one of the two top ones gets touching the metal for any reason, that the toy will just turn on, even without the antenna inserted in the head. Which I don't have this pushed all the way down to turn on, just have it just sitting there. That's why it wasn't running. Or if the other one touches while the antenna is in, it'd short out the entire battery power supply. So those are just things to keep in mind when you're in there working on them. And since I had to have the toy completely apart to work on it, I was able to, oil and lube the motor, but check the gears over. It has very little playtime on the gears. They showed very little wear, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now the toy, I could tell, had been stripped for parts. One, the head dome was missing. This is a replacement one. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But most of the arm buttons were missing. I scavenged enough arm buttons to make it look proper from the front, but from the back, and basically not having anything. Let me turn this light on. This might help. If it'll turn on. There we go. Around here, will it focus? Basically the two tabs, when they're originally bent straight out, I wrapped some wire around, crimped that wire together, and then bend the tabs over to hold it together. Someday another junker might show up and some more of these button tabs might become available, in which case the way I repaired it here, that means that you can just straighten these up, pull the wire off, and you can actually put a button tab on there. So I didn't want to do anything that would keep the toy from not being able to receive proper button tabs. Now, this one had an unusual problem besides the feet, and then of course the motor wasn't running from years of not doing anything. It was binding up in the eye head part, and I'm going to dig some of these parts up so I can show you what I'm talking about. Got some of this stuff here. My junk box for this toy is getting less and less. Okay, I think we can do it with this. So basically this is the lower mouth section here, and this part would fit on there like that. But the unusual part was, since these eyes are just a cosmetic thing that rotate, they actually were binding, these little teeth were binding and catching. And what that does is, if that binds to the point where these can't turn, everything up in the upper part of this robot, the color wheel and all that, is driven by that flex shaft, which if you watched my other videos, you've seen the flex shaft. In fact, you've seen it replaced. So if this binds, so the flex shaft can't turn, then the flex shaft's going to break, and then basically the toy has got a really big problem, which is not easy to fix. Normally what goes bad on these, and this is almost an example of that, see how that green part of the color wheel is loose? Over time, this foil, this colored foil thing, tends to get loose and jam this up. That, here's where the flex shaft would solder on. But if this jams, that's the same as if the eyes had jammed. Then that flex shaft keeps trying to turn, but everything's jammed up here. Flex shaft twists back on itself, and again, you got a serious problem. So I worked on the eyes out on the open because it didn't have a dome on it anyway. Got them where they seem to be working quite reliably. Well, in case you're worrying about the transfer of power, flex shaft comes up to this piece like that, and this piece, I'm holding it upside down, but you can see how this worm drive then drives this flat gear, and that's what drives the eyes. Okay, So, got that all working right, got the motor running, got the good feet on there, that was all looking good. So then I emailed the owner of this who sent it to me for repair and said, you know, if you want a dome on there, I really should try to put that on before I reassemble the robot, just in case it has any effect of how hard or easy it is to put the dome on. So we ordered one. There was a seller on eBay, which you can all look up. Just type in Television Spaceman, TV robot, Alps robot, dome. And they sell reproductions. I had never had a robot with a reproduction on it before. I'd heard of other people that have. I know that they're cast in resin, which is kind of brittle, but what are you going to do if you need one, right? Well, what I found with this one, I mean, it fits mechanically perfect, and it looks quite good. I may not want that little spotlight on. Let's see. No, the spotlight's helping. You see that surface? It's kind of a splotchy. To me, that looks like when the part was all done, they tried to clear coat it, rattle can spray clear coat it, and the part really would have been so nice without that kind of surface texture. You know, having said that, robot's got a dome. Robot looks pretty good from, you know, a foot away or more. You don't really even see that until you get up close and looking for it. So it's better off probably this way. I'm just saying the part isn't perfect, but I'd like to hear from any of you guys down below if you've ever ordered or seen the repro dome for the Television Spaceman before. Was yours kind of splotchy on the surface, or was it clear all the way through without that that surface look to it? So I'll put links down below to some of my videos about the other versions of the Alps TV Spaceman, including, I think I did one where I show a lot of the inside parts and all three of the robots in a row or something. I can't remember. There's been so many of them through the years. But I'll put links to some of those down below, and feel free to leave comments on this. And I guess normally, like if I'd come across this at a garage sale or a toy show or something, I would have bought it just to put in my parts bin. I wouldn't have considered repairing it. But it wasn't my toy. It was sent to me to be repaired, so we have saved the life of yet another robot, and that's important. I guess we haven't run it. Well, let's turn this light off on here. And let's get the antenna in. So as you can see, it walks with swinging arms. And let's get close to the pictures. Got the moving pictures. You got the insanely cool color wheel mouth. You got the rotating eyes. It's actually very stable. Most of these TV robots, I got quite a bit of wobble to them. This one is very stable. I mean, I had one as a kid, and I remember it being very unstable on its feet, and that's like 1961. And I also remember doing all kinds of really cool things with it before I started tearing it apart to see how it worked inside. But there you have it. It's your Television Spaceman robot by Alps.